So I found the greatest league in the world. That's what I'm calling it, the greatest league in the world. I go up to North Bay. My daughter's playing soccer at 4 o'clock. And I see some guys with handlebar mustaches and mullets out of pickup trucks with bags. And I was like, there's a massive sports complex. So I'm like, those are their kids' baseball bats. So I'm watching the soccer, and out of the corner of my eye, I see one guy with the skullet and the handlebar mustache put on a football helmet. And I looked twice and I said, no way. And then another guy walked by and I said, excuse me, can I talk to you for a second? I go, is this like a men's league football league? And he said, no, we're pro. NFC, Northern Football Conference.
What?
Dude, the North Bay Bulldogs were playing Hamilton, and the guy said we're semi-pro. And
You're kidding me. I've
dude,
never
I
heard
swear
of this
to God,
before.
I was shocked. I was telling the other parents on the soccer team, I'm like, I cover sports for a living.
Yeah.
I've never heard of these guys, and they're professionals. There was guys blowing darts. We're
talking
when I saw the
here.
dude,
like football, like Tom Brady football. Okay.
Look it up, Doogie, and give us a rundown of the league. When I saw the guy put the football helmet on, I just said there's no way in hell that these guys are playing against other grown men. And sure as hell, they just started gearing down, no change room, nothing. They put their tights on. They were doing warm-ups, throwing out routes.
I love it.
Wow.
I love it.
Cool.
Like, what kind of cash do you think we're talking in a league like that? Like, what?
Doogie, get the specifics on the NFC because I was a fan of the North Bay Bulldogs immediately.
Yeah.
These guys were there to play. I don't know the result. Doogie, get that as well. North Bay versus the Hammer on a Saturday night. And the thing was, it was weird that the field had no stands.
Right. You're not playing for anybody but yourself. You're just keeping a dream alive.
I'm looking it up right now. There is...
Apparently North Bay's 5-1 on the season. They're a juggernaut. They are a juggernaut out of the truck, and they go out there and they move the football and move the chains.
Dude, they're moving the rock and moving the chains. The Bulldogs, I love you guys, and you're a great squad.
I support them, too. I never met them, and I love it. I'm a Bulldogs fan.
Do yourself a favor. Go down. Joe from the bridge, you're out there. I'm on their website, the NFC roster. There is some guys, the quarterbacks, but there is a defensive tackle that is just a grit grinder.
Oh, yeah. This kind of heat, too. I love it. The GTA All-Stars.
Wow.
That's presumptuous. You're the All-Stars, just because you're in the greater Toronto area? I don't know, man.
Fraudulent team.
I don't like that.
Fraudulent team.
But there you go. Okay, Hamilton, North Bay. That's a commute, too, man. Imagine driving 3 hours for a ball game in the heat with no fans.
But what are the ages, though? Because there's guys that look like they're 15 years old, and there's a guy on there,
Dude, some guys look like they were 40.
Yeah.
Some guys look 40, and some guys look 21. It was a mishmash.
Yeah.
But I could not. I had my neck almost snapped right off when I saw the guy put a yellow football helmet on.
I love that
because I thought they had kids' baseball bats in there, and they were getting ready to go to a kids' baseball game. He reached down, grabbed the bucket, put it on, and I just said, "There's no way in hell."
Probably started taping his fingers up.
All of it, dude. All of it. They were doing the full warm up. They're a professional team, and I felt like an ass when I said, "Are you guys like a men's league football team?" And he said, "No, we're pros. It's the NFC." And I said, "I'm really sorry.
Get it right, you loser. We're professionals."
By the end of the show, we have to come up with our favorite player. Mine so far is Ryan Lanto, number 52. This guy looks like a grit grinder and a beauty. He's got an orange beard he's braided or something. Like, it is unbelievable. This group.
Well, we're getting tweets here, like Cosmo tweeting and saying, I grew up watching the Sudbury Spartans, the Sioux Steelers, the Bulldogs.
Dude, how come we've never heard of this league, man?
I don't know, man.
I talked to one guy, I don't know if he was the coach or trainer, and said every year at least 2 guys go to this CFL.
That's great. That's great.
That's awesome.
You're keeping the dream alive, man. The crazy thing is, like, as you get older playing physical sports, we talk about that with beer league hockey all the time, where usually if it's a pickup thing or a beer league thing, there's no contact. But you have to play contact if you're playing football. Like, if it's a real league, you have to play. It's the same thing with rugby. I got a lot of buddies who are 40 years old. They still play rugby. And I see them like once a year, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, do you realize, like, you're going to lose an ear out there or something? Like, what are you doing?
Men's league
there's
rugby?
not enough money in the world. Is this the NFC? Look at the hose on that guy.
Wow, dude, get that guy to the CFL. The Argos are looking for somebody. Get that guy. That looked like that was in Kingston, because that, I think, is the Golden Gales. That's Queens. Kingston's probably got an outfit.
No, nothing, just a field. They go out and play on a field.
Yeah, but there's refs out there. That guy's getting paid in beer. Like,
Dude,
what are the refs
getting paid? We got to start tracking the league.
Okay.
We got to get on the North Bay Bulldogs. They're our team.
Yeah, although the Sioux Steelers, man, I got a soft spot for the Sioux Steelers, Sudbury Spartans, just all northern teams. You know, they just come down here to Toronto and just want to lay a beating on this team.
On the City Boys. Tune up the City Boys. That's what it is.
That's right.
Doogie, look into how much cake they're making. They got to be getting paid.
I don't know.
All
Listen,
right.
It could be the equivalent of like these coast
They just
leagues
love
and
to
stuff
play.
like that. They're just, and some of them look very young. They'll go on to, to pro careers in the CFL.
play
They might play for
university
the
or
Edmonton
something.
Elks, Struddy's favorite team.
Right. Do they still stink? I think they're pretty bad, aren't they? I mean, that doesn't help that the Oilers are up against it and the Elks aren't that good. Let's head to Edmonton now. Here's our main man, Jason Strudwick. How those Elks looking early in the year, Struddy?
Tough start, but let's get the facts out of the way. I was asked to come on the show Friday. I'm guessing you guys anticipated it'd be a funeral today. Am I right or am I wrong?
We did say that. Get out in front of it. Make sure Struddy commits. Yeah,
I know it. I know you guys over there. You're cheering against Oilers. The Leafs fans, they hate everyone except their own team, and sometimes their own team. I knew it. I knew this what it was. I'm so happy the Oilers won.
Yeah.
So we couldn't have the funeral. That doesn't mean they won't, but not today.
Yeah, you're right, Struddy. And you know what? History was made. You know, we bring up Gretzky records, I'd say, 4 or 5 times a year, and we just marvel at them. We look at them, We're like, that'll never be touched. No one will ever pass that. And McDavid racking up more assists in a playoff run than Gretzky ever had. I can't believe it. Like, I was thinking about it last night. I'm like, man, this guy's got 32 assists in the playoffs. Yeah. And I think he had 5 his first game.
And he had 100 assists in the regular
season, and now he's got 32. I mean, you're from Edmonton. You obviously got to experience the Gretzky run. I wouldn't say this is the equivalent of 92 goals in a season or 50 and 39, but it's pretty substantial. What do you make of McDavid, bumping Gretzky down the record book?
I think he should shoot more.
Yes.
Shoot that puck, big guy. No, in all seriousness, when you're talking about being a Gretzky record, it's incredible. And, what Ovechkin's doing, chasing down his all-time goal record. And then what Connor did in today's game where everyone is quick and everyone makes plays and it's so hard to score and it's so hard to defend. There's a lot of kind of a skill throughout the lineup. And what he's done is incredible. And I saw something, I can't remember where I saw it, but something like 16 of the last 18 seasons of playoffs, just his assists alone would have made him the top point getter in the playoffs. Like, that's mind-blowing. You think about it that way. So, he's obviously he's the driver of this team, and he's a big part of the team. And it's not just his assists. He's also, he's back checking hard. He's doing a lot of things, helping out on top of the points he's getting. So when I look back to where he started in his playoff journey to what way he plays now, he's a much more evolved player, and he's still getting points, which shows that you can still be you can do kind of things in both ends of the ice and still have success at both ends.
Strud, how much attention do you think they got of the Florida Panthers? Like, where do you think the Florida mindset is? Because you got to try to get their attention a little bit with a victory. Do you think 8-1 makes it even more? I said earlier, Edmonton's got to be prepared to try to win 1-0 on Tuesday night.
I think it was more important, well, obviously, for the Oilers to win the game than Florida. This is why. The Oilers, they had played well in game 1 and 3, but couldn't score, couldn't get it going. They had a little bit of action at the end of game 3, right? They got a couple goals, and scored on Bobrovsky. Then they carried this on into Game 4, where they scored, 4 or 5 before he was pulled and kind of given the mercy pull. But for the Oilers, they needed to be able to feel that feeling of scoring, and there was guys across the lineup that were scoring and feel good about themselves. For Florida, I mean, they knew it was going to be a hard game to win, but I think for the Oilers, they got a big jump, knowing that they can play the way they need to play, but all more importantly, score, and how to score on Bobrovsky and how to break down these Florida Panthers. I mean, make no mistake about it. The Florida Panthers are going to be, a better team than they showed in Game 4, but the Oilers are feeling better about themselves, and maybe that's enough for them to try to, get another game, just get another lifeline, right, of trying to get to a Game 6.
Struddy, what do you after that game, who do you think probably had a little bit of redemption as far as, the guys who have been polarizing? And what I mean, is it Skinner? Is it Nurse? Is it Cece? Is it Ryan McLeod? Like, those are guys that have taken a lot of heat in the market, and rightfully so, for some of their play and inconsistency. Was it all of them, or who do you make had the most redemption at that game?
I think they all had different points in the game where they had their moment. For Skinner, you look at that like, oh, he didn't have to try. There were some pretty important moments early in the game where he made some good saves, and even in the third, he made some good saves. Now, the game was kind of out of hand, but still, that feeling of him feeling good about himself, playing well, and that's important. And we've seen this from Stu Skinner, right? In the Vancouver series, he gets pulled midway through the series, gets put back in a must-win situation and gets it done. Dallas, he played well, and especially the last few games, he plays well to do it. So, maybe he's the type of guy that needs to get kind of his beak wet, and then he's able to kind of get going and be strong. So I think that's important for him. Darnell scoring the goal, I think, is huge. I mean, he's been under attack from everywhere, and he's trying really hard to be physical. And he's really trying to be that guy. McLeod, I still think there's another level. I think he's got to find another level of physicality and forechecking that's really important for him. Then I think someone we can kind of talk about is Connor Brown. That's a guy I didn't mention. Connor Brown missed the whole year last year. You guys know in that market the way he plays. He can create offense. He can forecheck. Janmark, and Henrik have been the Oilers. They've been the best line. They've been the best line for the Oilers the last 2 games. And they're not just forechecking, and they're killing penalties, they're scoring points, getting goals. Those 3 guys, that's a legit third line. And they're playing very, very well. And the Oilers needed this. They needed to get an identity on that line, and they've now got it from these guys at the perfect time. So I think the guy is Connor Brown, Noodles, to answer your question.
With Jason Strudwick, Game 5 tomorrow night. For me, the only thing that matters is if Bob possibly is going cold. Like that's what's going to allow the Oilers to get back into this, and not just about tomorrow night, but the final 3 games. Like you're only going to get back into this is if Bobrovsky, who is somewhat famously hot and cold throughout his career, gave up a few in Game 3, got shelled in Game 4. If he gets shelled tomorrow night or gives up a couple of dicey ones early, then we have a conversation. Is that fair in your eyes, Struddy? Like, every other player in my mind is irrelevant. Bob is going to determine whether or not the Edmonton Oilers have any shot at making this a series, or if it's just a matter of time until Florida ends up winning this thing.
Well, I mean, they have lots of chance, right? They have 3 games to win 1 game. So it does feel like a tall order. They haven't done it since the great Maple Leafs of, 46?
1942, that's right. Frank McCool was in the pipes.
Still talking about that team today.
I love them.
And when you look at it, you're probably right. I mean, I thought Bobrovsky has been the best player up to Game 4 in this series on both sides. But the Oilers are a team that, you look at the head coach, he's found the lines that seem to work, right? He's made adjustments, tweaks, and he's been able to do that. So the challenge for the Oilers is to continue this good feeling. I don't know if there's momentum so much as just knowing that you can score on Bobrovsky. You can beat them. We can beat them upstairs. The one thing that is so impressive to me, though, in this series continues to be the Florida Panthers penalty kill. The Oilers are getting some looks, but they're really pressuring up high on the penalty kill in zone. And then they're still getting back to get their sticks in lane, so we can't, the Oilers, we don't see those cross-ice passes that, we're so used to seeing as people that watch the Oilers play on their power play. So if they can unlock that, and I don't know if they're going to, because this Panthers really seem to be locked in, even though the Oilers got one. 5-on-3 the other night. I think Bobrovsky and that penalty kill, if they can keep those, if Bobrovsky can be solid on that penalty kill, I think it's going to be really hard for the Oilers to carry this through 7. But they gotta chip in a chair, right? That's where you got to start, and feel good about yourself is the next step.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like, you find a way to win tomorrow night, man. That flight going back to Edmonton, like, the Panthers will be overthinking things, and that's when Paul Maurice will, he'll put the mic down and it won't be comedy hour anymore. You'll sense it. Like, he's got to start forcing it because he's trying to play the right cards. They both are Knobloch. They're all saying the things you would expect them all to say, but it's easy to breathe easy and, smile in the morning and all that when you're up 3-0 in a cup final. Same if you're up 3-1 at home. You have to go back to Edmonton. That building is going to explode. Like, what will that look and sound like if we get back there, I guess, on Friday night for Game 6?
I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine what it would be like. The energy, outside has been incredible. They've had concerts that have been going on. There's multiple places to watch outside, and the venue inside is it's out of control. The noise, the excitement, and on Saturday night, the Oilers gave their fans something to remember from this cup run. If they're able to win in Game 5 in Florida, I can't imagine what's going to be like on Friday night at Rogers Place. People will be going crazy and want to try to empower their team to take it to a best of 7. If you get to a 7, are you going to bet against Connor McDavid in a one game basically take it? So I agree with what you said. I think if the Oilers can get those Florida Panthers back on a flight to beautiful Western Canada on what is it going to be, Wednesday, I think this shifts dramatically the pressure onto that group.
Struddy, who was moving the needle amongst the people more, you or Noodles?
Noodles is funny. He scurries around in there, and people like him, and they love him. They love him.
People
For me, it's a little bit more, the looks, and then Noodles is more personality. But together, we do a pretty good damage walking through the people.
Yeah, Struddy is a man of the people. I will say that.
So you think you've got Noodles on looks, Struddy, is what you're saying?
If he's wearing a hat.
I've been thinking that for a long time, O-Doc.
He's been saying that for 25 years.
Noodles brings the personality. Struddy brings the looks.
Yeah, it's a deadly combo, though, back in the day.
Wow,
deadly combo. 2 5s makes it 10. 10 out of 10 between the two of you.
We were a dime combined, I will tell you that.
Just hard workers. Hard work. We were like Yanmark. We were the Yanmark of going out together. Just keep working.
I was Connor Brown. Didn't score a goal all year. But boy, did I work.
Yeah, battled. Looked great, sweating profusely.
Oh, yeah, just grinding in the corners, mocking it up.
Just the hardest working. I kept my feet moving the whole year, just grinding away. Actually, I wanted to follow up on that, Struddy. What did you make? There wasn't, and I don't think there should have been, but McDavid takes about 5 uppercuts there from Tkachuk, Bennett's, all over him. Those two, obviously, you look at the score and all that, but Warren Fogel's got Oliver Ekman-Larsson right there. Like, to me, at some point, you got to take a pound of somebody, don't you think? Like, I get it. I understand it. McDavid said and did all the right things, but at some point, you got to turn and give it to somebody else. Like, I thought Fogel's a big, strong guy, and I thought, okay, if you can grab somebody and tune him up, maybe, but I don't know if you draw them in I can't remember what the score was at that time.
Yeah.
4-5-1. But and you're trying to win the game, you're trying to get back in the series, all that type of stuff. It just something like that. I was watching and I was a little bit disappointed going, I know if Kane's in the lineup, Nurse was chomping at the bit. He was I thought Nurse played really hard and really mean the other night. Like, he was chipping away at them. But, I don't know how you make of it, McDavid taking those punches, and if there should have been any type of response, on the guys who were out there as well, maybe a Fogel on Oliver Ekman-Larsson.
Yeah, so that's not in Fogel's DNA. So he's be a UFA this summer, and I think that maybe limits his ceiling a little bit as far as his salary because he doesn't bring that to it. And it's not that hard to add it, right? It's a little bit of, and courage is the wrong word, but a little bit of, gusto to say, okay, I'm going to get in there and mix it up a little bit. Like, look who's out there. Like, you don't have to be afraid of anyone on that ice. You're right about Nurse. I think he's been doing, especially Game 3, I thought he was really trying to engage in Game 4. When he does that, he becomes that alpha male they need. Kane, there's a chance maybe he's back in there. But I do believe that Connor McDavid talked to the team and said, hey, if they come after me, guys, just ignore it. Right? He's smiling. Tkachuk hits him in the face. He's smiling. Right? He's laughing about it because Tkachuk, quite frankly, hasn't offensively done much in this series, and that is a good thing for the Oilers that he hasn't been able to score. Now other guys have scored, but he hasn't got going. This is a 100-point player in the past. So I think that Connor's probably saying, guys, I'm fine. Don't worry about me. Just let me do my thing. You guys look after each other. Come in and bail me out if I need help, but do not go over the top to get these guys back. And that's the type of guy Connor is. So, looking ahead to Florida, they're going to come out physical. I think they're going to try to play hard. The Oilers have to match it, but they have to skate it. And the biggest thing is get that puck out of their own zone, off the wall. Florida, they really pinch well. And, dog, you know how hard that is when D-men are pinching down you before the D-man gets the puck. It's really hard. The Oilers responded well. They had a nice, I thought the wingers came down a little further, so they had a split second more time. They could bump it out or bump it back to the center, or the D-men are lobbing it way out. That took the pressure off the wingers, and now they're going to skate playing their end. So I honestly think Connor's saying, guys, I'm fine. Don't worry about me. I've got this red beard that protects me. I'm just going to play my game.
Yeah. Well, and when in doubt, just strap a Band-Aid on that thing that does absolutely nothing. And
put
that
a
can be
Band-Aid
helpful
on the
as
beard.
well. Yeah, the Band-Aid on the beard, not on the skin, on the beard. I love that. All right, Struddy. Well, you're right. It wasn't a funeral. Good times, positive vibes out in the East here. We're cheering for you guys, man. We want to see a series here in Toronto.
I don't believe that, but thank you. No, I honestly think that it's a long road. It's a long road, but whatever. You try to win a period tomorrow, see what happens, right? See what you can get going into the second.
That's all you can do. All you can do. The Argos 1-0 for the record. The Elks 0-2 to start their season, but it's a long road too. A long road in the CFL. Thank you,
Was there a
Struddy.
press conference?
No press conferences.
About the new assistant coaches?
No.
What happened? Did I miss that?
No press. Although Guy Boucher was let go this weekend officially.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Press
it could
release?
be a presser.
Just a release? An email?
Just a release. Just an email. Yeah. When they feel the role, they'll have a press conference. That'll happen. Everyone from MLSC down on Bay Street. Thanks, Struddy.
Okay, boys. Enjoy the game. Should be a good one.
Yeah. Jason Strudwick joining us here, of course, from the Got Your Back podcast.
Boy, he thinks he's a dime, eh?
Oh, yeah, man. He loves
himself.
peacocking around that rink, man. He loves it.
I will say, I met up with him and his wife, and just for a quick chat before the game Thursday night, I think it was. Thursday night. And he was he's well recognized. People love him there, yelling his name.
How could you not love Strud? Edmonton boy, played for the Oilers, alumni.
Yeah,
right?
That's his market,
Toronto.
man. He talks about him all the time. That's his gig, man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He was strutting around there, boy. There was some peacocking, I'll tell you that. He was enjoying himself.
As he should. Yeah, and that salad was on point for the most part. He kept it in check. And that's because this Landon Donovan, have you guys seen this from
this was a ridiculous.
So he's a Fox soccer analyst. Obviously the Euros are ongoing, and I believe he's over there in Germany, like pitch side doing his thing. And he's one of the great American players ever. Really good analyst. And they posted him. Like, he was doing a stand-up, hit on the pitch.
What's wrong
and
with
his
the salad,
hair
though?
was wild. I don't know if we have it, Joe. There it is. I don't even know how to explain what's going on with that cat.
Is that a bacon strip that fell down?
It went back to the side, and it's supposed to be folded downwards.
Yeah.
And God forbid that he had some kind of surgery back there.
That's
where he
the
had
thing. We should be careful. We don't know
That's
what happened
true. Yeah,
there.
you got to be mindful.
Don't know what happened there. Good point. Good point.
But if that's not a surgery or something going on, if that's just a bacon strip that fell down, if you're going to put him on TV, doesn't the producer in the truck or the cameraman go,
say, straighten your dome out? You cannot look to the right.
Yeah. Well, listen, at least he didn't fall asleep in the stadium like that English fan, right? Like no one's, to my knowledge, no one else has done that. I don't recall hearing any story of.
Can you
someone
imagine? You've said like sometimes when you're younger, you just wake up, party, whatever. You're just in a random. Can you imagine looking up and seeing like a scoreboard or something? And you're in
stadium,
and
you've been in there for hours.
Yes, you slept there.
Yeah,
you slept in the stadium, and you just wake up gooned, and you're like, I haven't left the stadium yet.
Like, who did you go to the game with? Too. That's what was he a solo seat?
They just left him behind.
How did you leave?
He got three best friends that left him at the stadium.
Right. Which
not
means
you left me at the bar, or hey, you guys took off. You left me at the stadium.
Yeah. That is worthy of a conversation.
Yes.
Like, guys, come on. It's one thing to, hey, I jumped in an Uber and you left.
Yeah. When you guys jumped in an Uber, did you not notice that I wasn't there?
Right. Where do you think I was going? Like, we're at the stadium, dude. It's one thing if you're at the bar and someone disappears, you're like, all right, they probably went home. Maybe they met someone and they took off. The stadium, nobody disappears from the stadium. Like, you're there watching the match.
No, sirree.
And these guys looked back and said, hey, I don't know what happened to Gary, but screw it. We're out of here. He's on his own. That's wild. Like, that guy's phone. You talk about a phone blowing up. He's married. His wife called him 45,000 times.
And his wife would not even believe that story's not it's good that he has the viz because he can say, look, here's the viz. I woke up in the stadium. Because if he didn't have that, that's right.
Yeah.
That's the only reason he put that on TikTok is because that was his escape route. Because if not, that guy is in a world of trouble, even if he didn't get up to no good. Right. If he had no viz of that and he just said, hey, I was at the stadium, she would have said, yeah, right.
Get your ass home. Get on the plane. You're leaving Germany. You're never going back.
Yeah.
It's mandatory. You get up with video evidence. Like, I'm telling you, I am asleep in the stadium. Maybe this cat's just got a history of that. Like he's a pass-out guy. Everyone's got that one buddy who he's out, and it's like, all right, I don't know.
They're cooked.
Yeah, what are we supposed to do here?
Yeah, they know. But they know that he'll find his way home. You trust him. It's fine. Like, you're like, okay, leave Gary behind. Like, he'll be fine. It might have happened 20 times in their lifetime. You're right. If he's that guy, then they're not worried about him. Yeah. But it is weird.
It is. Very weird. All right, Mark Rolfing coming. I wonder if Rolf's on his way back to Honolulu right now. But Rolf will join us in an hour. And Rory McIlroy has issued a statement.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yes, and it's somewhat of a juicy one. We'll get into it. We'll read it and break down what happened to Rory yesterday and how great of a U.S. Open that was.
Let me hear the statement. I can't.
You got to hold. We'll come back. We'll read the statement. Rory's statement coming up. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, so yesterday's U.S. Open was one of the great golf tournaments I can recall in a long time. Like, it was just an incredible finish because of who we were dealing with here. It was basically a two-man show. McIlroy,
everyone watched it. You had to watch it. Even if you weren't a golf fan, you're like, what the hell's going to happen here?
Right. Like, when word starts to spread, because no one moves the needle more than Tiger, outside of Tiger, like Rory McIlroy. So if you get catch word, hey, McIlroy's got a 2-shot lead on the back nine of a U.S. Open, or McIlroy's chugging, man, he's making a run, and it's him versus DeChambeau, you're in. Hook, line, and sinker, you're in because of McIlroy and what he represents, DeChambeau what he represents, and even Cantlay was in there, Pavon to an extent, but it was a two-man race, and McIlroy, I don't think there's any other way to describe it. He choked the tournament away. He had a 2.5-foot putt and like a 3.5-foot putt. He missed both. And he lost by a stroke. And Bryson DeChambeau probably not getting enough credit because his up and down on 18 was magical, was out of this world. Truly one of the great sand saves in the history of golf.
Correct.
It should be remembered that way. But McIlroy moves the needle. McIlroy has not won a major in a decade. McIlroy has thrown away so many majors. McIlroy is such a magnetic figure in the sports world. He speaks eloquently. He's always giving you honest opinions. He represents the PGA. DeChambeau represents the LIV Tour. There's so many different dynamics at play here and so many different layers. And in the end, Rory chokes it away and then is wheels up in his private jet 53 minutes after Bryson hits his putt. He squealed out of that parking lot like Starsky and Hutch chasing a criminal. Like
Which we all
wild.
agreed is understandable.
Right. Yes, based on this scenario. Although not everyone sees it our way. I've seen a lot of people have been criticizing Rory, saying it's weak that you took off. You should have stayed. You should have spoken to the media. Should have, shook Bryson's hand.
But it's the same question as the hockey guy that throws the pizza in overtime when someone says, "What'd you see there?"
Yeah.
And it's like, you saw what I saw. I threw a pizza. So do you really want me to say what I did?
You're right. You're right. Because think about that. Hey, Rory, can you first take us through 16 and then 18?
And ultimately, don't you think if you were a writer, you'd be writing the same thing anyway? Like, I don't think Rory could have put any kind of spin on it where you're like, oh, I didn't know that. He choked the golf tournament away.
I guess it would have been great TV and a great quote if he said that personally.
Yeah.
Right? If he sat there, I don't want to say with tears in his eyes, that's a little bit heavy, but if he was like, I just choked. I can't believe I did that. I'm speechless. See you later. Well, that is probably a soundbite we would be playing today and would certainly be a piece of TV history that we wouldn't soon forget. So McIlroy has issued a statement, somewhat lengthy, but let me read through this.
Yeah.
This is Rory McIlroy. Quote, "Yesterday was a tough day, probably the toughest I've had in my 17 years as a professional golfer. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate Bryson. He is a worthy champion and exactly what professional golf needs right now. I think we can all agree on that. As I reflect on my week, I'll rue a few things over the course of the tournament, mostly the 2 missed putts on 16 and 18 on the final day. But as I always try to do, I'll look at the positives of the week that far outweigh the negatives. As I said at the start of the tournament, I feel closer to winning my next major championship than I ever have. The one word that I would describe my career is as resilient. I've shown my resilience over and over again in the last 17 years, and I will again. I'm going to take a few weeks away from the game to process everything and build myself back up for my defense of the Genesis, Scottish Open, and the Open at Royal Troon. See you in Scotland." So, Travelers, no dice. That's an elevated event. He's not going. He was supposed to, but he's pulling the chute on that. But a couple things stick out. One, he says Bryson is exactly what professional golf needs right now. What do you think? What does that mean? He plays for Live Golf. Like, I'm trying to figure that out. What does he mean by that? Because he's a man of the people now? Because he hits bombs? Because he's a passionate guy in the course.
I'll tell you one thing. With no Tiger, and it's only going to be happening at the majors, I think golf needs this guy to be wheeling around there, hitting these drives, and everybody's like, you can't deny the fact that he's one of the most fascinating characters on the PGA Tour. Yep. You cannot deny that because not everybody does business like him. The way he putts, he's a big, strong dude. He crushes the ball. And by the way, I think he put a new driver in play in round 4.
He did. He cracked his driver on the range.
4.
And, dude, he couldn't hit planet Earth off the tee.
No!
He hit 6 fairways. I saw a stat, only David Puig hit less. Dave Puig hit less fairways, and that's
so this guy's melting the golf ball all around that track into that native area with that wiregrass. It's 380 yards, but it's in the rough, and he still won the golf tournament, man.
Yeah.
But don't you think that maybe he's saying we need somebody other than Scotty Scheffler who's been dominant? You know what I mean? Like
Noodles, maybe he's saying maybe somebody other than myself.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. I mean, it could be an olive. What do they call it? An olive branch or whatever. I don't think that's the right term. What do we call it? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Reaching out an olive branch type of.
Okay, an olive branch. There you go.
Yes.
I was thinking Olive Garden, but
no,
it's an olive branch to Live Golf because of where it's going. Right? There were reports over the weekend that they've agreed to some sort of deal. Live and PIF and the PGA. And Rory said during the week last week that look for around 2026, everyone's coming back together, kumbaya. So they know where it's going. And yes, I admit, and you hit the nail on the head. Oh, Bryson is an interesting person.
Most fascinating man in golf.
And that's always going to work in pro sports. If you're fascinating, if you're interesting, if you're unique, if you're different, doesn't matter if you love it or hate it, you're going to have a take on it. You're going to have a feel on it. So that's an interesting comment from Rory. And as I said off the top, I'm coming around on Bryson. I like Bryson 4 times a year. I don't know if I could do it at the Rocket Mortgage and every other tournament every year, but you see him 4 times, and he's an interesting cat. And he played great at the PGA. He wins the U.S. Open. He's a great champion. He's a great player.
But I don't understand that comment. Why wouldn't you like seeing him at the Travelers, knocking it on
because of what you said
hole
earlier
with a
today.
4-iron? What?
You said you think it's phony, or a lot of it's phony. That's my point. If it's every week, the phony meter goes off the charts.
Yeah, you're right. That would wear on you. And I can just tell by a lot of people's interactions, he doesn't really care. Like, given I want you guys to all see the trophy. That is just
come on.
like it's just.
Although
it's
it was
so
cool,
Phil
him and Johnson
Mickelson,
Wagner on the Golf Channel last night, where Johnson Wagner hit one to like 2 feet out of that bunker, which was pretty sweet. But listen, I liked Bryson. I like what he was all about this weekend. I'm just saying it might be easier to like because it's only 4 times a year. But him stepping away, McIlroy, and him claiming he really believes he's closer than ever. You had a 2-shot lead with like 5 holes to go. Obviously, you're close. Being close is not the issue.
I will agree with one thing he said. Hey, that guy needs a week off, probably 2. Yeah. He played at the Canadian Open and hasn't stopped since.
Yep. The Memorial, U.S. Open this weekend. Now he's back with his wife. Like his personal life has been.
Yeah, might just need a reset a little bit just to.
Yep.
It sounds like his personal life and his business life has just been a little bit chaotic. Have a reset. And honestly, if he wins yesterday, I don't know what would he keep chugging along. Like, that's the other thing. You're talking about Bryson being a man of the people. If he loses by, a couple strokes yesterday, are we talking about him differently? Like, that's the other thing too. Is things are a lot easier when you're winning and you're high five and you're doing. I watched that 4-minute interview at when the reporter hits it out of the bunker and
Johnson Wagner.
Wagner. That was cool. But
it was.
Is he doing that if he's the champion?
Of course not.
No,
he's wheels up like Rory.
Because
he'd say he would look at it like he choked away the U.S. Open because he would. He had a 3-shot lead going into the final round.
Right.
McIlroy came back and passed him, and he shot 1 over on Sunday and lost. He's out of there, obviously. But he can be a man of the people because he won. He gets to write the story because he won, and he's worthy of that, and he deserves it because he did it.
Right.
But I don't know. I had this. I don't know what to expect out of Rory. It's recency bias right now, but it feels like this guy's just not going to win a major again. And if he doesn't, that's what you're going to remember. Like, it's not going to be the 4 majors he won when he was 21 and 23, 20. It'll be, look at what he did throughout the rest of his career where he couldn't close.
That's what we got to ask Rolf. Like, what is that scarring due to a 35-year-old guy as opposed to him being a kid at the Masters where he's going to be like, I'm going to get a lot of chances at that. I think that one cut deep yesterday.
Yeah. 35 years old. Yeah. Like, he's 35, man. He had a 2-shot lead on the back 9.
Like, he is going to be in contention probably this year, maybe at the British, and he is going to have a 3-footer. And you talk about gremlins in your brain, you would have nightmare. Yeah. I don't care how good a golfer, even if you're as good as Rory McIlroy, early in the round, if you do something stupid, it's just like somebody that hits a hosel rocket. It's okay, but the next time you've got the same shot, you're like, what the hell's going to go on here?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
second-guessing
man.
yourself for sure.
Well, and his caddy, gear up because you got to talk this guy out of some dark places, man. And, the caddy could have helped him, I guess, in a couple of ways.
Could the caddy have, do caddies ever call timeouts or anything like that?
Not on a 2.5-foot putt.
But
a 2.5-foot putt, the caddy's just like, well, you're a professional. Knock that thing in and let's get Boogie in here. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
But after the first one and then you see another short putt, do you not just maybe give him a breather or at least get his head in a different spot? Is any of this on the caddy?
My buddy sent me a text saying Rory lost the golf tournament because he chipped the golf ball on 18 above the hole. I'm not buying it. It's 2.5 feet. You got to brush in a 2.5-footer down the hill. Yes, it would be ideal to have it uphill. Probably said that to himself. I don't want this to get above the hole. But you got to brush in a 2.5-footer downhill. Yeah. A lot of analysts say a 2.5-footer down the hill, I'd rather putt it because you don't have to hit it that hard. You just get it on line. Mm-hmm. But he completely whiffed that putt.
Exactly. It's really not much different than saying, you'll always take a wedge over having to hit a 7-iron or an 8
And as soon as I heard Smiley Kaufman said, this is a left center putt, and it wouldn't hurt him if he just put it in dead straight, I saw his feet the way they were lined up. He looked so open, and he just sliced the putt. Like, his feet were not square to the hole. He was set up so open. I'm like, this guy's either going to miss this left or just whiff it like an amateur, and he whiffed it.
That's it.
He did, man.
That's what it was. The club champ.
Like an amateur tries to just baby it in. They're like, oh, and then it just whiffs low.
tap
yes.
it in. He needed Chubb.
Amateurs will whiff it low all the time. There's the saying, miss it on the pro side. He missed it on the amateur side like a chop. Like it was an awful putt.
It was an awful putt.
Dude, it was,
They were both
man.
horrendous putts. There's no other way to put it.
Dude, there's no other way.
Yeah.
He jerked the first one, man. That was whiskey mitts on the first one. Look at his – this one is whiskey mitts. He just jimmied it left, and it's like, what are you doing, man? You're Rory McIlroy.
And then he had
that
to
was
say
shocking.
Stop.
He waved at it.
He's like, please don't put me in 3-putt territory here.
Oh, man.
All right, Chris Johnston in 20 minutes.
Look at his feet here. He's lined up 3 feet left of that hole.
Yeah.
And his putter face, and he just amateurs it. It's scary stuff. I can't watch it anymore, man.
I'm sick for the guy.
I am too, man. It's disgusting.
I'd rather he slung one into the stands and took an 8 than that.
Just like Greg Norman at the Masters, he had to make a par to beat Jack Nicklaus, and he shot that thing 30 yards behind the green into the people at the Masters.
Can we get that shot?
And everyone was like, what the hell is Greg Norman doing?
Yeah.
I want to see that.
I'm going to show you after the break. Joe from the Bridge, get Greg Norman on 18. All he's got to do is make 4, and he sends a missile into the gallery. It's insane.
When does he
Get it,
down,
Joe.
though? When does he
Get
fall
it.
down?
I
When
want to
does
see
he
it
fall
again.
down?
It's like it.
I think he
No,
fell
this
down
is a
multiple
different one.
times.
This is when he gets to 18. This man needed to make a 4, and he launches one into the crowd.
I would
Get it,
rather
Joe.
that, though. I would
Yes.
rather that than missing a
Yes.
3-foot putt.
I need
All
Get
right.
it.
Mark Rolfing, Chris Johnston, the NBA Finals continue tonight. Back in Boston, Game 5. Best bets on that later this afternoon. And Jays Red Sox tonight down at the Rogers Center. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
All right. I've got to set this up. Greg Norman is in the middle of the 18th fairway, and he needs to par the hole, I believe, to win the green jacket or get into the playoff. Watch where this golf ball goes. This guy's probably got a 6 or a 7 iron in his hand. Just put it on the green and 2-putt the ball, and you are a legend, a Masters winner. Watch where the camera goes after this guy pulls the trigger. Greggy Norman at Augusta National. Look at his face. Oh, Jesus.
He knows right away, right?
Look at the golf ball.
Oh, my God.
Dude, that's 30 yards into the gallery.
That's not even. That's more than a shank because it went so far. That's just a miss. That's like his caddy gave him a wrong read.
That's
yeah,
in 1986, and he needed to make a 4, and he just hosel rockets that thing 30 yards into the crowd.
You're right. That was Nicholas, and Sevy did the same. Sevy was puking down the stretch too.
Sevy,
man,
man, was
chance.
folding the sod over it. He was doing weird-ass stuff out there for Sevy.
Yeah, he was, and that's when the Golden Bear said, "All right, I guess I'll take it," because Nicholas was in the clubhouse like long before they came up. 18.
Greg Norman needed a 4 there to get into a playoff with Jack, and he couldn't do it. And I think his golf ball trickled down, and he had a reasonable up and down opportunity, and he just couldn't do it.
No, he couldn't.
But that shot, that guy
crazy.
at that time was the best ball striker in the world, and he just launched one 30 yards right into the gallery.
Well, and then fast forward 10 years later, he's got a massive lead on Nick Faldo, and he puked his guts out on the Sunday. I mean,
that's the one where he's falling
That's
down.
the scar tissue, though. 10 years in the making. He's like, I can't do it, man. I can't. You get any doubt in your
It's
mind.
actually a great comparable where it's like that guy had 10 years go by, and he had himself a layup. What was it, a 7 or 8 shot lead on Nick
at
Faldo?
least a 6-shot lead going into the weekend for sure, if not Sunday.
And if you had the underpants cam on Greg Norman during that final round, the camera would have broken in half. This is where his golf ball. Like, he is just a mess. Like, he's got to try to finagle this thing up and down. He is so rattled right now.
Oh, my goodness.
He is looking back at the fairway like, how did I end up here? I was in the middle of the fairway.
Yeah. That's the thing. He got off the tee, too, which is the more nerve-wracking shot.
Yes.
You know, like, because if you hook it or slice it or something, you know you're in trouble. But he hit a fairway in regulation. And then he absolutely hozels one off some guy's forehead.
Look at where he's walking up to, man. Like
moving people.
He's
moving people
up
around.
the crowd, dude. What the hell did he hit?
Yeah, he's like Wayne Newton going into the crowd in Vegas.
Yes, and he's got to try to bumble one down that hill, and he does it, but he just missed the putt.
Shocking development.
It was an insane shot, though, when the guy's like, oh, my God, this ball is 30 rows deep into the crowd.
Yeah. That's scary. That's scary. All right, final hour coming up. Chris Johnston will join us on the Cup Final heading back to Florida. What does he make of it? Does Edmonton have a shot? Where does he stand on this Mitch Marner situation moving forward? We're getting closer to July 1st. And Mark Rolfing will join us to put a cap on the U.S. Open. Jay's in action tonight. NBA Finals Game 5 as well. We'll tee those up. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.